Get started.
It's already starting.
Oh, what kind of questions are you going to ask me?
We're gonna flow with it.
You gonna flow with
Yeah.
it? Okay.
All right. Good evening, everybody. This is Just Bob Bowman, and I'm here in a special edition to my videos. Like usually I don't do stuff like this, but today I decided to go live. And this is Thanksgiving. Even though I don't celebrate Thanksgiving, I'm hoping that everybody is enjoying
I don't use it.
that time with their families, their loved ones, eating good, just getting to be around other people. Now, can you come closer? Yes. Like, I'm sure you remember him from the last
I
video.
don't.
This is International J. Uh, he talked about his experiences traveling abroad and overseas. That's my best friend. He also gave me this as a gift. Those that know me know that I love wrestling, and this is a picture of Tatanka that was autographed by him. And so I have that, and I got him with me. But I have a special guest here with me. And this gentleman who I have with me, he's related to my best friend. And one thing about this gentleman is that he's very talented. He's very gifted. He has a clothing line that he started. Let's be serious, please.
No.
He has a clothing line. He has a clothing line that he started. If you can look at his shirt, it says Funktivity, and that's on his hat. And yeah,
Funky activity, baby.
and
Funktivity.
yeah,
It's a way of life and it's culture.
And show him the back of the shirt.
I can do that. Might cost you.
You see that? This got like the special keyboard that they use to make.
That's a Moog Prodigy, and its cousin is called the Mini Moog. And mostly all the funk songs that you heard in the 70s and 80s, that keyboard was prominent in the bass lines. Make you groove, make you dance. Whether you want to or not, you got to move something.
All right. So with that being said, he has a clothing line. He's also a great singer. He's also a musician. He was featured on the documentary with Rick James. If you check out that documentary, he's in there, prominent.
I don't know about prominent. if you blink, your ass will miss me.
Hey, see, I'm trying to big you up.
I appreciate that, but we ain't gonna lie to it. It ain't like the movie was about me. If your ass sneeze, you ain't gonna see me. I'm just saying. But I'm in it for a hot second.
He's very knowledgeable about topics.
It's called Bitchin', The Life and Times of Rick James. Showtime, baby.
Yeah, he's very knowledgeable about things going on in society and life. He's very knowledgeable about history. It's a lot more that I can say about this gentleman. To big him up, to let you know that this is a very important person, not only in his family's life, but every person that he touches lives. He's a very important person. And I want to introduce you to him. And his name is Mr. Derek the Funk Moody. So thank you very much for doing this live.
Well, thank you for having me, brother. And we can act like we don't know each other if we want to do that. But this is my brother right here. This is my little brother. And so he's trying to big me up, as he says. But I appreciate all the good comments and remarks and accolades or whatever we want to call them. But I just try to treat people the way I want to be treated.
Okay, so the first question I want to ask you is, how did you get started in music?
Well, I didn't choose music; it chose me. When I was a young buck growing up, it was only two things that was ever important to me, and that was music and sports. And it might sound like a cliche because a lot of people say that that's all we can do. When I say we, I'm talking about our people. But literally, that's just what I happen to be gifted in. I played football, baseball, basketball, ran track, and I did music. And it was at an early age, about 7, 8, 9. I was singing. And you know you discover that you can. And it just so happened that my grandmother had went out to the local grocery store and left me at home by myself. And I had the record player going and playing Temptation songs and early James Brown records, and I was like, wow, I kind of sound like the record, you know. And I was just singing and messing around to myself. So my grandmother came back from the store, and I was like, Grandma, check this out. She's like, boy, you can sing. So that's where it all began musically. But I was already playing ball and stuff like that. So at some point, it got to the point where I realized that I wasn't the biggest guy physically, but I could still, play ball and deal with people that were bigger than me. But it was just a common sense thing. I was like, why do I need to risk getting hurt, playing ball when I could do the same thing, via music, without getting hurt. So I just decided at that point that I was going to move, go towards doing music as opposed to playing ball. I still played ball, but I just decided that I was going to seek a career in music.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how good were you in sports?
Well, a lot of us like to think we was better than what we are, but
That's true.
I was really pretty good in sports. I came from a sports town. I came from Titletown, USA, which was East St. Louis, better known these days as East Boogie. And East Boogie produced a lot of top-notch athletes. I can name them all. If I can remember them all. People like Kellen Winslow. Byron Cox. Johnny Poe. Uh, I could go on and on and on. There was people that was good that didn't necessarily make it to the pros. People like Rick Suttle, Big Daddy Glanton. I'm trying to remember everybody, but it was a lot of people. It was a lot of more talented people than that, or just as talented as those.
Female track star.
Oh yeah, were you talking about Jackie Jordan Kersey?
Yeah, there was another one that you had told me that was from East St. Louis or something.
Oh, there's a lot of people.
Yeah, it was a young lady. I can't remember her name.
I mean, you had it's just so many. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to think of who you're talking about.
You
But
said, yeah, it was another female track
a
star.
female track star.
Yeah, Darcy. I can't remember.
It wasn't Jackie Jordan Kersey.
It was other than her. I think her brother used to coach
Al
her.
Jordan.
Al Jordan used to coach her.
Oh, FloJo was not from East St.
No,
Louis.
not FloJo. It was another one. I can't remember.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. I know who you're talking about. Damn. She went to the Olympics actually.
Right.
Yeah, she went to the Olympics. I'm trying to remember her name. You had to get back at me on that one. I
Right.
ain't 25 no more, so sometimes my mind, slips. But I do know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, she went to the Olympics, and she was from East St. Louis. And Al Jordan did coach her, and she did go to the Olympics. And if I remember her name, and I apologize for not remembering right now. But yeah, she was from East Boogie.
Okay, so
So was many others.
let's go back into the
Her
music.
last name was
Victor Scott, my brother, who played for the Dallas Cowboys, number 22, was from East St. Louis. He was number 22 before Emmitt Smith was number 22, in case y'all wondering. And, we played ball together growing up, and then he went on and went into the NFL and did his thing. He was a defensive back out of the University of Colorado. So how about that?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So let's go back into the music. So
Back into the music.
Were you in the band in high school?
I I took up music and drums in junior high school. I was not in the band in high school. It was more or less sports for me. When I went outside chasing the girls, I was good in school up to junior high school. I always got straight A's, but once I got to junior high school, something happened, and I started spending more time outside the school than inside the school. Outside shooting dice, chasing the girls, and then later on, I end up, going into enlisting in the military. But no, I was never in the band, and I was in a band in my neighborhood, a couple of bands in my neighborhood, a couple of groups, a couple of funk bands, as a matter of fact. But no, I was not in the high school band. I didn't play cymbals and shit like that.
No triangles.
Nah.
And it was Don Harper.
Don Harper from East Boogie.
Yeah, from East Boogie.
Thank you so much.
That's what I was trying to think of.
Okay,
Yeah, that was her name, Don Harper.
So what was the name of those bands that you were with?
I was in a band called F Troop. You know what the F was for? That was for funk. I was in a band called Lakeshore Drive, LSD for short. That was here in Chicago. That was in a couple other groups. But my first groups were not bands; they were singing groups.
Okay.
And I was like 8 years old. I was the Michael Jackson of my band, of my group rather. And we were called the Young Expressions. We were the Destinations. No, which one? I'm trying to figure which one were we first. We were the Destinations first, and we changed it. No, we were the Young Expressions first, and we changed our names to the Destinations. But we were basically a Temptations cover group because we sang all things Temptations, and I was Eddie Kendricks of that group, and that was my first vocal influence. And later on, you got people like uh, you know, my boy Philip Bailey from Earth, Wind and Fire, and William Hart from the Delphonics. I could go on and on and on. Russell Tompkins for the Stylistics, Ron Banks from the Dramatics. All those guys that hit all those high notes, those were my idols because that's what I did for my group.
Yeah, I like the Stylistics and Blue Magic and
Blue Magic,
groups like that.
yeah, Blue Magic,
Yeah, those some good groups.
all great groups.
So, what music instruments do you know how to play?
I play bass. Bass is my vocals is my main instrument. I sing first and foremost. I play bass guitar. That's my main musical instrument. Play keyboards. I know a few chords on guitar. I can do a couple of chink chinks. you know, and I play drums and a few other instruments, but those are my main ones.
Oh, okay. So, how did you get to meet Rick James and his band? And forgive me for forgetting the name of his band.
Well, I can tell you the name of his band. I never met Rick James personally. Unfortunately, it would have been a pleasure. I met members of his band, which is the Stone City Band, out of Belo, out of Buffalo, New York. And I, was fortunate enough to be able to travel with them to go to Buffalo to do, a historic concert that he did going back home. But no, I never met Rick personally.
Oh, okay.
He had left us, before I got a chance to meet him.
So, how did you get linked up with his band?
Well, there was a guy that I knew in Las Vegas. I moved from L.A. from Los Angeles to Las Vegas, and I met a brother named Steve March, Cowboy. Who was affiliated with the P Funk Clan. And we was doing some things together, and he knew the guys from Stone City Band, so I met them through him, and then we became kind of cool, and they had a going home concert to Buffalo, and I was able to travel there with them, for that concert. So I think I know where you're going with this. How I got in the bitchin' documentary.
Well, I was going to ask that too, but that was going to be a little bit later.
Okay,
down. But
do your
but
thing,
since
bro.
but since you already brought it up, how did you get into the documentary bitching?
Well, it was totally unbeknownst to me because, I was just there to support them. You know, friends of mine. I was just there to support them. As a funk brother for their concert. Going home, and it just so happened that they were taping the documentary at the time, and so they were taping it at the venue where they were doing the concert in their hometown, and I was there. So it's kind of like the little moment. If you sneeze, you won't see me. It's kind of like the little moment. I thought they had got off the stage and went to their dressing room, and I went there, and you could see I was kind of looking around, but they weren't in there yet. They weren't in there yet. They still hadn't made it. But I went back there, but that's what that was.
So you was just like lost and trying to figure out where you was.
No, I wasn't lost. I knew where I was at, but I was going back to the dressing room to tell them great show and just be a funk brother. But they hadn't made it back to the dressing room yet. So I looked around and the cameras that was filming the documentary, they were in there looking for them too, apparently. So I wasn't the only one. So they found me in there, and that's how I got in the movie. But it was unbeknownst to me. I had no idea. But they didn't cut it out. So you know how some people be cast in a movie and they actually act and they actually do a role and they don't make the film.
Right.
They get cut out. Well, they kept me in the movie. which was funny as hell to me. I had a friend, I'm gonna shout her out, Z Funk, Zelda Norwood, my girl. She's a funk diva, you know, and she hit me up and said, "You know, you in the Rick James Richard documentary?" I said, "No, I didn't know that." She said, "Where you are?" I said, "Okay, let me check it out." But that's kind of how I found out.
Okay, so now that we know your relationship with the Stone City,
Stone City Band
Stone
out
City
of
Band
Buffalo, New
out
York.
of Buffalo, New
Rick
York.
James Band,
Yes.
Funky Brothers,
Now that we know
based
about
in Las Vegas.
now that we
Most
know
of them.
now that we know about your relationship with the Stone City Band,
Mhm.
what other famous groups have you worked with?
Well, you know, I'm a different kind of dude. You know, I'm from the Sly Stone school of thinking. You know, everybody's a star. Me, you, everybody else. When you say famous, you know, my one of my best friends, you know, that I lost along with my mother and seven other people. 2016 was a crucial year for me because I lost nine people in 11 months in 2016. My mother being one, and my friend, the legendary Jimmy Macon, guitar player for the Gap Band, you know. And speaking of that, that was another, you know, person that I was affiliated with. And me and him did a lot of recording. You know, I'm kind of a different kind of person. You know, I'm open to working with everybody, but at the same time, I'm kind of close knit. And me and Jimmy did a lot of recording together. You know, I recorded some stuff with him in his studio. He came to my house and recorded a lot of stuff with me in my studio. And Jimmy recorded with some of everybody. He was a phenomenal musician. You know, in the studio and live. You know, he played with James Brown. You know, he had some funny James Brown stories that I could tell you, which was hilarious. And he recorded with Solomon Burke, Natalie Cole, you know, and he was with the Gap Band for over 25 years. And I could go on and on and on. You know, musical director for Yarborough and Peoples, you know, and Goody and some of the other people that were on the Total Experience label, which the Gap Band was on. Okay. So, but, you know, that was my main and chief music collaborator along with my main boy, Johnny Oscillator Robinson, who's from Chicago, you know, and also Kevin Punch Cooper, a guitar player who I lost and who passed away. And I could go on and on, you know, members of Lakeshore Drive, uh, you know, Nicole Raymond, guitar player, you know, Don, you know, Doc Thomas, guitar player who passed away, you know, and Victor Dobbins, the drummer, you know. So those are some of my main and chief music collaborators. But I've worked with some other people that you might call famous or whatever. But you know, I mean, even you know, I know some phenomenal musicians that you know the public might not know of or consider them to be famous, but they're phenomenal in their own right. You know, so when you say famous, I guess you're talking about people that everybody know
Well, that's popular, yeah.
that's popular. Yeah, yeah. Well, I'll just say this: I've worked with people who've been affiliated with P Funk, affiliated with Ruthless, affiliated with Lakeside. Most of the funk bands, you know, that's out there. I can go on and on and on. You know, in some part of my passage, I've worked with people that's been affiliated with all those guys, you know, but mainly, and I need to say this and I need to say it loud and clear, because of the fact that I've known people that had record deals and some of their, you know, bad dealings with deals and contracts, you know, and people that have taught me and told me over the years, I've never signed a contract with anybody. And I'm proud of that. I can stand on that. You know, I got a ton of songs that I own. Nobody else owns them. Okay. I've done a lot of things independent, you know, from concerts, you know, shows. Uh, you know, I own my own stuff. And I'm proud of that. I can stand on that. So as opposed to some people that can say, and I love the brothers and the sisters that are out there doing their thing and that are not totally controlled or under, you know, a bad contract, you know, and not making the money that they supposed to make and that are doing their thing. Not everybody is. It's a handful of people that are really independent and free in this music business. A lot of people that you see that's out there, they're doing their thing, but they're not independent and free. You know, I'm totally independent and free. You know, I own all my own masters. So I'm proud of that. I can stand on that. So I guess you could say I'm the underground funk brother. That's doing his own thing, and then I'm okay with that.
All right.
Yeah, I'm cool with it.
Well, that's cool. So I heard that you're currently working with writing the songs for Lakeside. Well, the original Lakeside, I should say.
Well, they didn't come to me and ask me to write songs for them, but I know some of the guys in the group, and particularly Steve Shockley, the guitar player, and so I submitted a few songs for them. It's up to them whether they decide that they really want to do the songs, but they got them, and he heard them and he said he liked them, but they haven't decided, if we're really going to go that route or not. But I didn't write the songs that I submitted to him for Lakeside. They were just funky songs that I had laying around. But I can write some songs specifically for them, which would be more to the group's,
Right.
situation. But those were just a couple of songs that I had, laying around, and they were. I happened to be in the part of the country that they were in Chicago, and they had a concert in East Chicago, which is actually Indiana. Oddly enough, they call it East Chicago, but it's actually Indiana. Go figure that. Yeah. So they had a concert there along with Confunction and Midnight Star, and me and my boy Johnny the Oscillator Robinson, keyboard player, with my situation, Black House Entertainment. We went to the concert, and hung out with Shock for a little bit. And so, I sent them a couple of songs. So he checking them out, and if they want to do them, we can do them. And if not, I got like millions of them. I got like my boy from the West Coast say he got holes in different area codes.
Yeah.
I got songs in different area codes, nigga. So
Right.
I could submit some more, But the fact of the matter is, my way of thinking is that all these funk bands that everybody wants to try to dismiss as just touring groups, they all need to come out with new music and keep it coming, because the songs is the bloodline of the music business.
Right.
If you ain't got a good song, you ain't got nothing. So you can't put funk out to pasture; it'll never die. So you can get about it. It's all about this funktivity, funky activity. You heard me? So it's a way of life. It's a culture. You can't get rid of it. It'll never die. That's why everybody's sampling it up. That's why everybody's doing it, because it's just the thing that's going to keep everybody dancing. Like my boy Marvin Craig, the bass player at Lakeside, he say bass players are rump shakers because we keep that rump shaking, and that's real talk. That's not no bullshit. That's just what it is.
Yeah, and it made me think about, what you said about how the music has to keep coming in rotation or to
It's got to
keep it
keep coming.
fresh.
Yeah,
Because I think about like genres like blues,
yeah.
and blues was very popular at one point, but then it kind of got co-opted by white people who don't really know
Don't get me
shit
started on that.
like they don't really know shit about the blues, but then they be like, oh, I love the blues, and and they the
Well,
main ones that go to the blues fest.
bro,
And so
that's just the nature of the beast. That's just how it is. We could say, I mean, like funk was at its apex and most popular in the mid 70s. Well, I just say from the 70s to the late 80s and into the early 90s. Before then you had the hip hop came in and things started to get a little murky. My thing is, all music is valid. If it's only people talk about genres, you got R&B or soul or whatever you want to call it. You got funk, you got rock and roll, you got country, you got blues, you got gospel, you got bluegrass, and we can keep going on and on with the genres.
right,
But there's only two kinds of music. Either it's fucking good or either it's fucking bad. All right, either it's good or bad. You can call it whatever you want to call it. That's what it is. So, with that being said, as long as you're doing good music, you can hang whatever marketing genre on it that you want to put on it. But at the end of the day, it's either going to be good or bad, and the public is going to decide either they want it or they don't.
Right.
So, where you're talking about blues, funk has always been studied. What happened was that the record labels decided that they wanted to move in a different direction. And so when they did that, they weren't allocating money to the funk bands of the 70s and 80s that was popping and popular, and they start allocating money to other stuff. When in actuality, if it's only two kinds of music and it's good or bad, they should have been allocating money to all the music that was good and not allocating money to all the music that was bad,
Right.
whatever fucking genre that it was. Okay, but they didn't do that because they found out that it was cheaper to make rap and hip hop. So their investment, it had a greater yield.
Right.
If it's cheaper to make rap, their return was greater. So they say, why are we gonna spend more money making this when we can make more money making this? But at the same time, they still pulling all the music from this.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like the quality of the music decreased.
It decreased.
Okay.
It did. It did. So, from a business standpoint, people that are spending money to make money, they're going to always try to spend the least amount of money and make the most amount of money. So you are going to naturally have a decrease in quality if you're spending less money.
Right.
If you're the best drummer there is, then you demand a higher rate as a drummer. So I can go get a cheaper drummer, yeah, but is he going to be as funky as you? Is he going to be in the pocket?
Right.
That's another thing. So that's what you're dealing with, bro.
Yeah, and I know that the funk bands back in the 70s and 80s, they had to be what they call tight, where it's like they had to be in sync with each other. The music had to be in alignment to where it had to be damn near perfect in order for it to really catch and grab the attention of the people. And when hip hop came along and they were using the samples, it's like they got rid of the hard work of the instruments, the people playing the instruments, and just focused on the samples and the beats that's made with the drum machines. And then that tightness was how should I say this? It wasn't real. It was synthetic.
Well, let me say this. Let me say this in that regard. You know, I'll say this. We played instruments. We sang. We actually did it. You couldn't fake it back, when I was coming up in our era. Either you had genuine talent, you couldn't disguise it or fake it. You couldn't just be a good looking girl or a good looking guy that was young and vulnerable to the business that somebody wanted to exploit to make
Right.
money, you know, and somebody put a song around you and make you an entity. You had to actually be who you were. You understand what I'm saying? You actually had to have genuine talent. And I'm not saying that to take anything away from any rappers or hip hoppers because I love rap and I love hip hop. And I'm going to tell you why. Because if our young brothers and sisters didn't have that, and if they weren't doing that, then what the fuck would they be doing? So, in my honest, humble opinion, rap and hip hop was God's gift to the ghetto. It was God's gift it was God's gift to our people because it created a whole different culture. It created a whole different pay grade because a lot of young rap artists, whether they females or males, it gave them a genuine bona fide career and profession. So it made some of them, stable, and it made some of them very wealthy, as you can see. So that's a good thing. So I would never try to shit on that or say anything negative about that. So in regards to what you said, they weren't musicians, but they didn't have to be. They were musical. I have a saying, I say, uh, uh, Funkers are the mothers and fathers of hip hoppers, and hip hoppers are the sons and daughters of funkers. Okay, so there's a direct correlation. They grew up listening to this real shit that we did, and they appreciated it. Even though some of them are not so humble and don't want to admit it. you know. But the ones that really know. And that's where they get the good songs to sample
Right.
and the good music from because they good music heads. They grew up listening to it. So because of that, they know what to do and how to do it. And then when technology came in, they were just like natural sponges and were able to utilize the technology and connect that with what they had grew up listening to, their parents listening to, and heard, and able to put this new form of music together. So I don't knock the brothers and sisters that can do that. I think that's a beautiful thing, and it's an art form within itself.
Well, but how do you feel about, like, okay, say for instance, they they have these songs that they sample, and they make way more money than the people that originally did the music. Like, how would you feel about that? Or do you think that these, the artists that get samples should be getting bigger checks cut to them?
Well, when it first started happening, you had a situation where a lot of the original copyright owners were not getting paid. Now they are, So I don't have a problem with that. It's twofold. I mean, the rappers and the hip hop artists that are sampling music, they get to utilize these amazing grooves, and it's the basis for a great hit song that they write lyrics for, and it become very popular. But then the original writers of the music, they get a second chance, and their song is reborn again. You know,
Right.
and I could name several. But you already know. What they are. Since you were talking about Rick James and me being in Bitchin', I'll just use you can't touch this as an
Yeah.
example. Which was the song that MC Hammer did. You know, and then it was, of course, it was, a Rick James song, Super Freak.
Right.
So it's like a lot of people that were younger that didn't know where Super Freak came from. They were able to go back and see, where that original music came from. With
Right.
the advent of Hammer song. So it's a beautiful thing. And you have a situation where the songwriters, you know, make money again. So the song lives. That's why I said earlier, songs are the bloodline of the music business. You can. I know some amazing musicians, amazing, but some of them can write you a hit record if they like to put it on there. And that's not a knock against them because some other people can't play the way they can play.
Right.
So everybody has their place in the pecking order in the music business. And if you just like a super uber talented motherfucker like Stevie Wonder that can write you a hit song, play like crazy, whatever, then you can do everything. But not everybody can do everything.
Right.
So you have to do what you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, he's visually impaired, so he still needs some assistance with certain things, I'm sure.
Well, you said that I did
No, I'm
because
not saying as a. I'm not saying as a
I
knock.
heard Stevie could drive.
Well, I wanted to clear. I wasn't saying as a knock to Stevie because
Yeah.
he is awesome, but he does need some type of assistance at times
Well,
to
we
do
all
his.
do.
Yeah.
I need some type of assistance at times. As a matter of fact, let me call her right now. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, let me call her up. No, but I had a chance to meet Stevie. Let me tell you this quick story. I was with my ex-wife, and we were at a party in L.A. It was a friend of ours who roommate with. She was living in one of Stevie Wonder's friends. It was Stevie Wonder's friend's mother's house, and our friend was living with the woman's daughter.
Okay.
And because she was Stevie Wonder's friend, she had him make a special appearance at this party, unbeknownst to me. So I'm there, and I get up and go to the bathroom, to the men's room. And When I come back, it was some other so-called celebrities at the party, you know. And I wear a lot of caps and everything, and I got a beard. It was hilarious because these chicks thought I was Frankie Beverly, and I had to tell them like 49 fucking times, and I'm not Frankie Beverly. But they didn't believe me for some odd reason. I swear to God, it was crazy. They didn't believe me. Now, Frank is a nice looking guy, but I don't look like Frankie Beverly to me, you know. But but they just swore I was Frankie Beverly. It was a couple of chicks from the Flavor of Love. It was crazy, man. Some crazy shit. But anyway, uh, I go to the men's room. I come back. My ex-wife comes up to me. Derek, I got somebody I want you to meet. She said, Stevie, this is Derek. Derek, this is Stevie. Stevie Wonder in the motherfucking flesh at this party by the pool.
Okay.
We sit. I go and have a conversation just like I'm having with you, nigga, with
Right.
Stevie Wonder for like 45 minutes.
That's cool.
It was very fucking cool. The coolest. And we sat there and we talked about music. Just me and Stevie. It was like time stopped. It was like everybody else, all the chicks that thought I was Frankie Beverly and everybody else, they was just off doing their own thing. And me and Stevie was just sitting over here chilling, talking. And we talked about music. I asked him some questions and it was cool. He shook my hand. He got some huge ass hands. That's the first thing that stuck out to me. He got very big hands. And we was just talking about music. And it was right before he came out, forgive me for the album that it was, but he has a song on it called What the Fuss. And he hadn't finished that record yet. And he was asking me about music. And I was like, Stevie, one of my favorite songs by you is Maybe Your Baby from the Talking Book album. And we was talking about music. And I was like, well, you gonna do something funky on this. And this keyboard on the back of my shirt
Right.
was on uh Maybe Your Baby, along with a bunch of clavinet. And he might have been using a mini move, but it was a move. If it wasn't the move Prodigy on the back of my shirt, it was a mini move, which is still in the move family, because that's where all the bass lines came from. So he was like, I'm not finished with it yet, but I might do something. He said, you like that? Maybe Your Baby, huh? So I'm the inspiration for What the Fuss, who Prince played guitar on, by the way.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. He said, I'm gonna do something funky on that album. We talked about it. And about 4 months later, I heard that shit. I was like, what the fuck?
Hey,
Yeah, that's real talk.
you know, I heard that Stevie Wonder liked to smoke weed. Was he smoking weed?
I don't know no shit like that.
Okay.
I don't know. I can't. You crazy as fuck.
Hey, I have.
I don't know.
I read that online. So
Hey, I'm not saying. Look, Stevie was when I met Stevie. He wasn't smoking nothing. He wasn't drinking nothing. He was just sitting there. And I went over like I said, my ex-wife introduced her, and she got lost because she knew that we was gonna have a musical conversation. She went back and sit not too far, just white room we was sitting, where everybody kept coming up to me, accusing me of being Frankie Beverly. And to be perfectly honest, it was the weirdest shit because they were harassing me. They wasn't fucking with Stevie. They wasn't bothering him because I saw him sitting over there before I went to the men's room. Nobody wasn't going up to him. They knew that was Stevie, but they act like they knew I was Frankie Beverly, and I wasn't. And I ain't one of them kind of dudes. Yeah, I'm Frankie Beverly. Yeah, it's the golden time of the day, baby. Joy and pain. I'm not gonna pretend to be somebody I'm fucking not.
Right.
But they would not leave me alone with that Frankie Beverly shit. If you don't want to be bothered, one chick told me, one chick from the Favor Love, yeah, if you don't want to be bothered, just say that. I know you, Frankie Beverly. I'm like, this bitch is crazy. It was funny as hell.
All right. I kind of want to.
You have to forgive my voice, man. I'm a little under the weather because I was down in East Boogie in East St. Louis visiting family, and my cousin, who I'm gonna give a shout out to, Deborah Glover. I love her. It's my oldest living relative right now. But she had 3 cats in her house and 7 cats on her porch. The 7 cats on her porch are rescue cats that she just take care of. So they call her the cat lady. And I'm allergic to cats. So that's why my voice's nose is a little.
I kind of want to go backwards a little bit.
Go ahead, bro.
You had mentioned that you heard some stories about James Brown.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that I can't pain you to tell me all of them, but
I'll tell you one.
Yeah.
I told you that my brother Jimmy Makey, the guitar player for the Gap Band,
Right.
one of the most awesome musicians I've ever known. I miss my brother. He played. He had the privilege. He was from Cincinnati, and James used to be up that way recording, which is where Bootsy, and all those guys come from, you know. So he told me that he was driving, which he said James was a terrible driver. You know how James talk. You can't hardly understand what the hell he's saying. He said he got in the car with James Brown and was moving about. He said he pissed his pants while James was driving. He said James was driving fucked up and talking crazy. He said he was praying the whole time. He said when the car stopped, he said he got out of the car with James. He said, I'll never get in the car with that nigga again. And if you knew my friend Jimmy, he was a character. So he got a funny way of saying things. I laughed my ass off. He said James is the worst driver he ever drove with. He said he can't drive worth for shit. I was like, you can't. He said, no, man. He's like, man, let me tell you something. You don't want to ever get in the car with James Brown. I was like, damn. I said, was it that bad? He said it was that bad, bro. He said he just kept talking to him. He said he was looking at him and praying and looking at him. He's like, just let me make it to one place where this car stops. I'll never get in the car with this nigga again. Yeah, I think I'm gonna get him to do my thing. Funny as shit, man.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like I said, the main reason why I started this channel was talking about self-improvement. And so,
absolutely.
So share us some thoughts about like how you've been able to improve on your life and make things better and some of your trials and tribulations.
Well, we all have trials and tribulations. Everybody have hurdles that we have to jump. And in most cases they're unexpected because you can't predict the future. Shit just happens, and only the strong survive. You have to deal with it when they happen. But how I've been able to personally improve upon my life is through knowledge. Knowledge is the single most important thing on earth. And when I say that, I don't mean from the so-called way that we've been taught that we have to learn. We all went to school starting from Head Start, kindergarten, all the way up to whatever level of so-called education that we had, whether we went to college or not, or whether we graduated from college or not. But I'm saying that you can self-educate. Education comes in different forms. Traveling and going to different countries is one of the greatest forms of education, because if you're just in one place, you only know that situation. And I don't want to go jump off the deep end, which I could do, but we've been contained here in this country in terms of what our education is. We live under a system. We live under systems, and so everything is systematic. And what you find out in traveling and doing independent research and independent studies is that it's not about systems. Something is either it is or it isn't. And a lot of stuff that we've been taught isn't. And if you don't go outside of what you've been taught, you don't know that it isn't. You just know what you've been taught that it is.
Right.
If that makes any sense to you at all.
Sense.
Yeah. So what our thing is we need to start teaching our children that aside from this very particular systematic, I call it indoctrination. Other people call it education. I call it indoctrination. And you have a situation where people that's been to college or that's received a certain kind of so-called education. They look down on other people like they think they're better than them because they went to school and they got this paper degree, which really don't mean shit. And when you get down to it, it just means that you're more indoctrinated to go and play a role in these systems, and encourage other people to do the same thing
Right.
because that's what you've been taught. So I think we need to get away from systems and realize that there's a much broader education out there if we seek it. It's available to us if we seek it. So for me, I've been able to do that and break the chains of indoctrination and self-educate myself, you know. And it's been the most miraculous and wonderful thing for me because it opened my eyes to a lot of things. And you heard me say earlier, that's why I'm independent. That's why I don't sign record deals. I'm not interested in a record deal. And I'm not saying that to say that I would never do one, but it has to be to my liking. It has to be, it has to be, where I'm going to, receive a certain amount of equity and I'm not going to be losing out by doing it, because you have a situation where you have a lot of talented people, not just in music, whether it's sports, whether it's acting, whether it's whatever they do, you know, authors, painting, whatever talent that they have, and they're not making the lion's share of the money from their talents. Somebody else is,
Right.
and that's bad. And
Right.
I'm not interested in doing that, and I'm not going to do that. If I'm the one providing the goods for whatever it is that I do, and I'm the one producing it, then I'm going to make the lion's share. So let's just keep it music. If I'm a musician and I'm creating a song, I'm sitting here, I'm writing it, I'm playing it, I'm singing it. I'm not going to let somebody come along and make the lion's share of the money of the work that I put in and that I created. I'm not doing that just because I want to try to be seen and heard and famous. I'm not interested in that. I would rather sell 3,000 copies and get 100% of the 3,000 copies that I sell instead of selling 300,000 copies and getting 3 cents a copy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
I'm not doing it. And fortunately for me, I had a lot of friends in the business that did all of that. And they was like, well, Derek, it's not all this cranked up to be. You don't want to do Jimmy Macon being one. That brother taught me a lot of things. You know, he was like, just like, he come from the Gap Band, and I got songs. I was like, man, you need to get this song to Charlie Wilson, this needs to be the next Gap Band hit. He was like, Derek, I could do that. He said, I could do that. He said, but man, I care about you too much. He said, I don't want you to get involved with this shit. And I wasn't like 18. I was a grown ass man at this point. And I can fend for myself. I wasn't so. But he had so much compassion and concern for me. And he had been screwed over in the business. And he didn't want that for me. You know? He was like, man, I could do that. He said, but man, you don't need to, just he saw how I was moving and he saw how I was doing my own thing. He was like, just keep doing what you're doing. You good. You're cool. I mean, look, man, he was staying in San Luis Obispo at the time, which is a little ways from LA. It's up the way, you know. And and he would come down. I would have concerts at my house. I would have concerts at my house. I lived in Downey at the time. I had a nice house, swimming pool, doing my own thing. He was like, man, you doing it the right way. He was like, I had the state of the art recording studio in my house. He would come down and record. But when I would do concerts, he would come down to my house and I would do concerts where I had people in my house. I had like fucking 50, 60 people, in my living room for a concert. He was like, man, you doing the right thing. And I'm an entrepreneur, so you were talking about the shirts, I have a clothing line beyond these shirts, called Orgasm. And it's Orgasm is RGASM, And the R is for recording gasm, because people used to ask me all the time, what does it feel like to start a song and it's nothing, and then and then you turn it into something. I say it's like the next best thing to have an orgasm, right? There's no greater feeling than starting a song and it ain't shit when you start it, and then you put in the time and the effort, and then you turn it into something that somebody likes.
Right.
It's a beautiful thing, and what people don't understand, that's a spiritual thing. It's not you. You're just a vessel that God chose to channel his energy through. You understand? So that energy comes through you. It flows through you and out your mouth into a microphone, or out your fingers into an instrument, and it becomes something tangible that other people like. It's a spiritual language. So God gives you something that you can in turn channel and give to somebody else.
Right.
Yeah, which is it's an amazing thing. So, you get people who get all full of themselves. I did this, I did that. You ain't really done shit. You just a vessel that's being used to channel this energy through. And you should feel special because God chose you to be one of his conducts to do it,
Right.
because he don't choose everybody. So that's my view of it, and that's how I see it. So, uh yeah, he was like, bro, you doing your own thing. You're making your money. Look, you MTV Cribs, and talking to me about celebrities. He's like, look, nigga. He's like, you sitting here with a 5-bedroom, 4-bath house with a swimming pool, with a state of the art studio in your house, and you ain't got no record on the radio. You ain't signed no record deal. You know. He say, but you one of my coolest friends. you somebody I want to funk with. You know. And he did, and hey man, it was a beautiful thing. But it's not about that. It's not so much about what you have, but I'm saying that to say this. You don't have to have a record deal or have a song on the radio to be able to do things. You just have to have the right mindset.
Okay, so what have you learned that brought you to this trajectory and understanding? Like, what was the most important thing that you learned?
You mean as far as music or as far as life? Period.
Far as life, period. Like, what did you learn? Like, and I'm talking about like what step did somebody show you, or you learn on your own that got you to this point?
It's just, I would have to say, it's just life in general, bro. You know, every day that we're blessed to go to sleep and wake up, you're gonna learn something. I have a friend, I have to say this, and I love her dearly. Well, she told me, because she's like 68, you know, I'm 64, and it kills me when people are ashamed, or they don't want to tell you their age. What the fuck is that? It's a blessing that you live to be another year every year that you do it. So nobody should never. I don't understand this whole thing about don't ask a woman her age. Why the hell not? Ain't she got one? Don't she get a
Right,
year older every fucking year?
right,
Ain't that a privilege and a blessing? And especially if she look younger than what she is, she should be shouting it from the rooftops. So, what I got this friend, she says, well, I'm too old. I'm too old to change. I know everything I need to know. I don't need to know nothing else. I mean, what the fuck is that? Whether you want to know something else or not, if you go to bed and wake up in the morning, you're going to learn something every day you wake up, whether you want to know it or not.
right.
You keep living, you're going to learn. That's what life is all about. Life is a cycle. You live, you learn. You can learn something from a 6-year old. 6-year old go to school, come home and tell you something you never did when you were 6 years old in school. Life is about living and learning. As long as we live, we're going to learn. So to answer your question, uh, I learned just by doing, observing, listening, listening, and I talk a lot. I talk a lot. But as much as I talk, I listen. Listening is the most important vehicle for learning. If you at school, if you in any seminar or wherever you at, you ain't gonna learn shit if you ain't listening. You better be listening, and you might want to take some notes. So that's how you learn by observing, watching, listening. All the gifts that God gave you, hearing, seeing, listening, you learn. But as far as what I said, me talking a lot, I figured out that the more knowledge I've gained, the more I talk. When you know a lot, you talk more because you should, because you should be trying to share what you know with somebody else. You can't beat them over the head with them. You tell them, and either they listen or they don't.
Right.
You can't make them. So it's like when you learn knowledge, it's worthless to learn something that you just keep to yourself. If a person is a great whatever they're good at whatever they do, they're supposed to teach somebody else that. It like I'm a musician. It don't do me no good to know how to do what I know how to do if I'm not trying to share it with somebody else.
Right.
You're supposed to pass that knowledge on. So I try to teach somebody, anybody that expressed interest in what I'm good at. Like I happen to be amazing chef, amazing cook. Not to my own horn. I'm just saying I can do it. So I can proudly tell you I got two sons and two daughters, and they all are amazing cooks. One of my oldest daughter went to culinary school, the California School of Culinary Arts, and she's amazing. Even though she bite on some of my recipes and try to act like they her own, but it's cool, But all of my two, I don't have no kids because they're all adults, And people are like, my youngest kid is 40 years old. If you're 40 years old, how the fuck are they a kid? See, that's part of the indoctrination process. We don't know how to call things what it really is. If you an adult, you're no longer a kid. You have kids and you raise them and then they grow up into adults. And you need to say, I got two sons or I got five daughters or whatever you got. You don't say you got five kids. They no longer fucking kids. Get over it. Call it what it is. And see, that's part of the communication process. When you still uh, identifying your adult sons and daughters as kids, you try to continue to talk to them like they're kids, and they're not. And that's where the problem comes in,
Right.
because you want to treat them. I don't care how old they is. That's still my baby. No, it's not. That's your adult ass son or your adult ass daughter.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm a realist. I don't do that.
Okay. So earlier you said that you had about 300 songs. Do you ever plan on coming out with an album?
I didn't say I had 300 songs. I got way more than that. I don't know where you heard that from.
You had over 300.
I got a lot of songs. I'm a song waiting to happen. I could write a song right here, right now, without even trying. That's the way the spirit flows through me. But I've come out with music. It just ain't been because I wasn't under a contract and it wasn't presented to the masses. We just didn't do that. But I'm not interested in all that. I don't care about that shit. The people that I needed to get it to got it, and they dug it, and it would have been great if it had got to more people. But I'm surviving. Hey, do I look like I'm struggling?
No.
So I'm doing my thing. And I ain't got to sell my soul to do it. I ain't got to be manipulated or pimped to do it. So, but yes, me and my partner, we're working on new music right now that we're gonna drop, and we're excited about it. It's inspirational lyrically, and you know it's funky. So yeah, it's coming. It's coming soon.
So do you have a website for your clothing?
I have a website. It's not for my clothing. It's just for all of my stuff. It's for music, clothing. I have crystal. Like this is not one of them, but this is champagne, folks. I'm an adult, so I can drink. So don't trip. But I have crystal champagne glasses that bears the D Moody. D for Derek. Period. M Moody, which is my last name. You know, I have those, crystal champagne glasses. I have ladies and men gym shoes. That's for sale. I've done D Moody ones, D Moody twos, D Moody threes, and I just recently done my first ladies specifically gym shoes because the one, two, and threes are unisex, so they're for men and women. But I just designed a shoe for women, which are called what did I call them? Because I got the elegance, which are dress shoes, upscale heels for ladies. But the new ladies gym shoe is called. I'm trying to make sure I ain't lying. I'm trying to make sure I ain't lying to y'all. And again, forgive my voice for being so gravelly because I don't normally sound like this. But the new ladies gym shoes are called. Give me a second, because I got like six different brands. But I have gym shoes for men, gym shoes for women, champagne glasses. I have clothes, the orgasm line, and the new funktivity. And just so you know, the funktivity line was created because we're going to be doing some concert promotions in the spring of 24 coming up. And we're using the proceeds from selling the funktivity caps, the funktivity shirts. These shirts come in long sleeve, as you see, short sleeve, and they come in white with the gold print as well. And we may even do some other colors just to keep it funky. So that the money from that is going to be used to fund funk concerts specifically that we want to bring to your town in 2024.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. All right, so we are going to wrap things up with this, but I really enjoyed this interview.
Well, I thank you for having me, brother. Because I know you. You sitting there trying to talk to me like you ain't never met me before. You already know the answer to all these damn questions. But I appreciate you. This is a great platform. I wish you nothing but the best and success, with your podcast, man. And, having me on it, I really appreciate it. If anything that I said or did can help get you the way you're trying to go, and that's a beautiful thing. And if anything that I said or did, hinders you in any way, at least I didn't lie. I told the fucking truth.
Oh no, I don't think that anything hindered
Yeah.
because
Well,
this was actually I like this one a lot better than the one I did with your cousin. Because I did one with him. I did one.
Is that a setup question?
No,
You
no,
set
no,
me
no,
up.
no, 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 no. Like me and him, we talked about traveling, and
Well, y'all both travel a lot, so that was a good topic.
yeah. And like I said, like I got my passport
Yeah.
last year, so I've been putting in good use.
Let me just say this. I don't want to interrupt you. Stay right where you at. Get your passport. Traveling is the most important thing. You need to go places. That's how you can learn and see how other people in other parts of the world live. It's not like what you've been told, right?
That's correct.
It's not like what you've been told. The best thing you can do for yourself is to get a passport and go travel abroad and see what it really is for yourself. You cannot let other people tell you shit. And that's one of the biggest problems for our people. It's two biggest problems for our people: listening and living by what somebody else told you. That's why God gave you your own mind so that you can think for yourself. Don't let other people tell you what it is. You go find out for yourself. And the other biggest problem that we have is hating on our own people. Haters. What you hating for? If he got something you ain't got, instead of hating, ask him how he got it.
Right.
He might tell you. So
Right.
you can go get it.
And sometimes you can't get mad if the person doesn't tell you, or if they want a check cut for that information.
They say the game is to be sold, not told.
Exactly. So it is what it is. And like I said, I thank you again. I really love this. I really love this interview. This is
my brother.
One of my best interviews so far. So thank you again. This is Just Bob Bowman. I'm coming at you with a live stream this time. The next time you see me, I might do a pre-recorded. But go ahead and say one thing.
Y'all want to get at this funktivity stuff? You need to get at me. You know, if you're on Facebook, my name is DEREK, Derek, MOODY, Moody. You can find me on Facebook, and you can DM me. You can get this funktivity shirts, these funktivity caps. You can be supportive if that's what you choose to do, so that you can help fund these concerts that's coming in the spring of 2024. And we're doing these ourselves. Ain't no, I almost said something. Ain't no labels, ain't no labels or no other people involved in this. This is what we're doing. So you can help participate to bring a concert to your town, whether you live in Tulsa, Cleveland, Milwaukee, wherever. We trying to come there. And when I say we, I mean whoever you like. You know, I'm tapped into everybody. I can bring whoever you like there. Okay. So that's what this is all about. But you can get this stuff, and you go to Facebook. You can also get the Waterford crystal glass, champagne glasses that I have. You can get the gym shoes that I have. And you ladies can get the stilettos that I have. So
what's the website for that? What's the name of the website?
The name of the website is www.blackhousentertainment.com. But if you go to, I'm selling stuff. Also, I'm in partnership with a company overseas in Italy that you can go to Facebook to link up with. That's why I was telling you.
Okay.
So friend me on Facebook. Find Derek Moody, DEREK, Moody, MOODY, and I'll friend you back. And then you can have access to the ventures that I have through Facebook. But the website is www.blackhousentertainment.com.
And yes, I do have one of his t-shirts myself.
Well, why ain't you wearing it, nigga?
Because and the reason
with you,
but the reason I'm not wearing it is because I'm going on a vacation.
Where you going? Tell the people where you going.
I'm going to Colombia.
Wow.
So I am going to be wearing a Funktivity t-shirt down in Colombia.
That's a beautiful thing. And you tell them Colombians that Funktivity means funky activity.
Right.
And that's a culture and a way of life. Repping funk music.
And hopefully when I'm down there, I get into some funky activity. But
you talking about something else. It's time to wrap this podcast up.
All right.
It's time to wrap this podcast up before you turn it into something else.
All right. So this is Just Bob Bowman. You catch me again. Thank you very much for those that listen. Hey, I support you.
Peace.
Salute you.
Love.
Oh, and we got Red Lord Black Sigma. He says, "What's good, brothers? The lighting is dark, but the sound is good." Hey, we working with what we got, so we got to do what we got to do. But thank you for the support. I appreciate it. This is Just Bob Bowman.
So you only had one that said something?
Yeah.
The whole podcast?
Yeah.
We reached one.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother. At least you was paying attention.
Reach one, teach one. But
that's right.
This is Just Bob
one is
Bowman.
better than none.
This is Just Bob Bowman. Have a nice evening. Enjoy your holidays.
Funk lives forever.